women empowerment in general, I think there has been a lot of progress. But when we speak more specifically about governance and board of directors, which is the topic today, I'd acknowledge that there is still some way to go.
Good afternoon. We're talking about diversity. I've been joined in the studio by an independent director, Anouk. Agnes. Anouk, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jim.
Now, Anouk, I actually remember you from a few years ago when you were deputy director of ALFI. Good experience?
Great experience, yes, absolutely. ALFI is an amazing association, doing a wonderful job for the funds industry. I spent 7 years there and I have only good memories with an amazing team and an amazing everyday job. It was just great.
And you were busy again after that because you ended up advising the Prime Minister, right?
Yes, I left ALFI indeed to become an economic advisor to the Prime Minister, which was an amazing experience. I spent 3 years there, and these 3 years were not necessarily easy years because of the 3 years, the majority were COVID years, which kept us busy. And also, it was challenging because as an economic advisor, obviously I was faced, with many industries and companies needing help, and we had to navigate our way through that. It was not easy, but that being said, with the Prime Minister and his team, I just really enjoyed it. They are doing an amazing job, and it was a real privilege to be part of that for a while.
Now, I've seen in the press a lot of talk about diversity, and it feels like change is kind of happening around us, but it seems to be quite slow. Do you agree?
Not really. I think that there is progress, and that change has actually not been that slow. We need to remember where we're coming from. Like merely 1 or maximum 2 generations ago, we saw only male CEOs running companies, or only male pilots flying planes, and only male, or mostly male, prime ministers and presidents ruling countries. And today we have had a female head of the European Commission, we have a woman managing the IMF, we even have a female governor of the European Central Bank, which means that women empowerment in general, I think there has been a lot of progress. But when we speak more specifically about governance and board of directors, which is the topic today, I'd acknowledge that there is still some way to go. Now, in some sectors, like the social sectors or non-government organizations, you would already have a majority of women on boards. But in other important sectors like finance, in Luxembourg we have this big financial center, there is still a lot to do.
And let's face it, finance is always a little bit conservative and slow with change, isn't it?
You would say that. Not necessarily, but in this aspect, indeed, there is a study showing that the finance sector is slow. There is a study of ELA and PwC that proved that in Luxembourg, women represent only 22% of directors on boards of financial institutions. And the same is true for big listed companies, where women also represent only 22%. It's the same number. That's a study by the OECD that has shown it. And that number, 22, is definitely not good. There is still some effort to make there.
Now, from your experience, I suppose the real question is that this should not just be a theory. There should be some real positive outworking of this. So do diverse boards function better? Do they function differently?
Women and men tend to have different perspectives or interests in specific topics. So indeed, when at a board you talk about a specific issue and you want to base your decision or your discussion on a holistic approach, then obviously you need to consider these different interests and perspectives. But in general, if you look at what the board discusses nowadays, these strategic challenges like, for instance, sustainability or technology, which are important points on the agenda of boards. For those, you need to go beyond the pure gender dimension of diversity, and you need to ideally constitute boards with people of various backgrounds and with a varied professional or personal even experience. And these truly diverse and inclusive boards, I believe, and I'm not the only one saying that, can really make better decisions. The various approaches to a topic lead to better quality discussions. I'm convinced of that, and that is also what I'm witnessing on an everyday.
So you're saying we need experience as well as gender to be diverse?
Different experiences. So if you have varied expertise around the table, then you can address topics in a much more general way. You can pick on different brains. You like a little bit like in a brainstorming exercise, and very likely you will come up with a good decision that has looked at the interests of all your stakeholders as a company.
Now, I mean, on the complete flip side of this conversation, I have met some women independent directors who have found it difficult to get mandates. Now, you've clearly been quite successful. Firstly, why do you think women find it hard, and what would your advice be to women who are looking for mandates?
Women, is often said at least, tend to be less self-confident than men. I don't know if there is a scientific study proving that, but I have witnessed that. And it is a shame, of course. There is absolutely no reason. We have a lot of talented, skilled and experienced women, and I wish them to come forward and become candidates for these nice mandates that are. There's actually a lot of demand that are open. There has been a lot of talk about quotas. Maybe that is one solution. I'm not in favor or against quotas, but I recognize that the mere fact that we have been talking about them has helped a lot in raising awareness about the existing deficiencies. And if there had to be quotas, why not? I mean, there are definitely enough talented women out there to fill them adequately. I also think that boards themselves have a role in fostering, more women in women empowerment and having more women in decision-making positions, not only at the board, also at high level of management and in executive positions. But the boards themselves, they need to set the example. They need to, first of all, decide, top down, that this is a priority to empower women. And then they need to look at themselves and wonder, are we diverse enough? Do we have enough women? But also, again, diversity more generally, do we have the different profiles around the table, the expertise we need to address all the topics that are important to us?
So do you think if we were having this conversation in 5 years' time, you would expect to see parity, 50-50?
Maybe even more. Why not 100% women for a while?
Well, I guess we came from 100% men, didn't we, before?
Exactly, and nobody has ever questioned that. As Ruth Bader Ginsburg said, you know that story, that quote?
No.
So Ruth Bader Ginsburg was the second woman to be nominated as a judge on the federal court, and very late. So a journalist asked her, okay, now there's progress, you are the second woman now, when is it enough? 50%, 40%? And she said 100%. 9 judges out of 9, because there had been 9 men for a very long time and nobody has ever questioned that.
What a brilliant note to end on. Anouk, Agnes, Independent Director, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Jim.